And we're live.
We're
Oh,
back. I know it's confusing to see us together on here
yeah,
because people are they're not sure, like, are they doing something? Are they building something? We're not sure. They're never on.
right.
But we happen to be online again together to promote and talk about the breath framework.
Yes, and it's funny because I scheduled Annie on my show before we started this, and now it just
I don't
worked
know
out.
if anyone knows, but it's Mike's birthday today.
Yes,
I
it's
made
my
that.
birthday.
If you follow me, you know that already.
Yes,
But everyone say happy birthday to Mike today. It's his big
yes.
day.
It
And
was.
I wanted to make it special because he hates his birthday and we're going to make him not hate his birthday
I
anymore.
used to hate my birthday. I don't hate it anymore.
Exactly.
It comes with loving me that I don't hate it anymore. It's funny how that works.
Yes, you love yourself. So you like your birthday.
Hmm.
So you're celebrating your birth and the days that you've been here.
Yes,
That's
yes.
exciting.
And it's still less than the days you've been here, so it's even more exciting.
It's, I have to tell you a secret. I'm always going to be 6 months older than you.
I
It
know.
sucks for me because that's like the one thing you have on me, like the one thing. So you can have that. I'll give it to you.
7. It's 7 months, by the way, just so you know.
Whatever. Anyway, everyone, I'm 42 also. Here I am.
So here it goes. So this is the KEW exchange, and we are here to talk all things Annie. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about the Soul Center, and everything that we're creating around it. In case nobody's heard, we're kind of on this mission to spread the word about helping people in in a process that we created around how we did it for ourselves and together in parallel. So it's this journey has been this crazy synchronicitous serendipitous journey of it started March 5th when I was at one of the lowest moments of my life, and Annie reached out to me and told me things were going to get better soon, and the next day I got my kids and went into a massive depression. And then for a couple months, I was in a massive depression. She was living her life, dealing with graduating with her EMBA. In case anybody didn't know, Annie has her EMBA.
Oh my God, you're so obnoxious.
And, we were both just juggling the best we could. And as things evolved and things shifted, by June, we became really close and created this bond. And we just started working together and working on ourselves. And we went on this tremendous transformational journey of just self exploration at the deepest depths possible.
And
And
it started really with living with Anitude, wouldn't you say? Like that's where it really started.
I mean, it started when you told me to read the Brene Brown books, right? When you said
That's true. I remember the day. I remember where I was standing. Yeah.
yeah, when you said go read Daring Greatly, or you sent it to me, you sent me the audiobook Daring Greatly, and from that point forward, it was on. Like I just went to the races and started my emotional healing journey because at 42 years old and 14 years sober, I never did the emotional work. So I started doing it, and all my addiction and addictive behavior went into doing the work on myself, which might be the only healthy thing you could ever do with addiction. Um, and as that happened, I got further and further away from escapisms. I got further away from hiding, further away from running from things. Yes, there were still moments, there were still times. I still made bad decisions. I still made mistakes. But over the course of this journey, by December, I was starting to identify my core values. And by January, I stepped into my core values. And once I stepped into my core values, it was this connectedness feeling that I've never felt before. It went into this spiritual, euphoric, high type feeling of being on top of the planet. And from that came created additional patience that I never understood I had. And then shortly after, Annie joined me in stepping into her core values. And recently, we really looked at the process of what we just went through and then broke it down into the breath framework. And I'm going to let Annie explain the story behind the breath framework because that's her story.
So in 2014, I was in some of my darkest days. I've had a couple of experiences like this in my life, but some of my darkest days where I was actually, hi, Dorothy. Dorothy said hi.
Yes, I see that.
I was actually I was seeing in black and white. I was no longer seeing in color. That's how much of a veil I was wearing. And just not being present. And I was really sad and really depressed. And I didn't understand why. I broke up with my husband, separated my kids. Things were in shambles. My friends, a lot of people abandoned me, my family, like a lot going on. And the day I signed the divorce papers, December 11th, 2015, I went right from there. I saw a poem on the wall where I signed my papers. And it was a Ralph Waldo Emerson poem. And it had the word breath in it. And I thought, you know what? You can strip me of everything, but you can't take my breath. That's mine. So that's where I was. I was literally, that's all I had. Like, that's all I could grasp onto. And I went to the tattoo parlor. I drew it on a napkin at a restaurant. I went to the tattoo parlor and I had them write it on me exactly how I drew it, the word breath. So this word has carried me through the last a lot of years. So it's 2021 now. But Mike and I got really close and started going on these parallel journeys. And our lives have so much mirrored each other when you really break it down. Our childhoods and abuse, you know, whether emotional or physical, and then the things that our escapisms with addiction and our mental health issues, and all of these things have paralleled one another. And when we met, it was it was just really serendipitous. And over this time, we started to develop, we started to look at how we were going through this journey. And we talked about the word breath because it's obviously tattooed on me and it's important to me. And we decided to make that the acronym, which stands for B is for begin where you are. R is reclaim your power. E is excavate your core values. A is allow, not through. Allow, not control. T is through, not around. Sorry. It's the first time I ever messed it up. And H is for healing. And we have gone through this journey, and we continue to go through the journey and evolve. But we've gone through this journey and these steps, and we thought it would be we would be remiss not to share this with people. So in my client meetings in my coaching business, and when Mike meets with people, we're starting to go through this framework and walk them through their journeys side by side. And it's really been remarkable because it's gotten us to this place of H, which is healing, which for us is a place of contentment, is a place of fulfillment, peace, joy. I don't like to use the word happiness, not because I don't think happy is a thing. I just think that happiness is in moments, and I think that wholeness is a state of mind. I think you can always be whole, but happy is just like pieces, like moments that you can grasp onto. So I don't try to say I just want to be happy, because I feel like that's setting me up for failure, because you just can't be happy all the time. But I do think that you can be whole. And this is the work that we do in order to be whole.
Yes. And, this framework has really saved us from ourselves, right? It's become this self-awareness journey. It's about living within our core values on a daily basis, which is really where our personal freedom comes from. Because as long as we don't sway from it, then we feel whole and complete and at peace. And the minute that something comes in where there's even a little potential to go outside of our core values, that's when we start feeling uncomfortable within our own skin again.
But let's talk about that for a second, because I feel like we talk about that a lot, and people don't even really know what they're I didn't know what my core values were. I thought, of course I know that. And then when I sat down to really dig deep, I realized I didn't even know what mine were. In fact, I have a story about that, which you've heard 50 times, but I'm going to tell you again. So when I started doing this excavation, I looked at this sheet of paper that had about 150 words on it that could be your core values. And you can find other ones, but these are great choices for people. This is where many people fit, right? And I looked down, I'll never forget this. And I saw the word freedom. And I'm like, why would anyone choose that as a core value? I said that to myself. It's just what do you mean? Freedom from jail? I don't understand. I thought, of course, honesty, empathy, all of these things that, integrity, they matter to me. But freedom, I just blew that off. And then as I dug deeper and looked further into it, I realized that the overarching core value of all of my core values and what makes me me is my personal freedom. So figuring that out by doing the excavation and doing the work was remarkable to me, that I was able to figure that out about myself and find myself in doing that. And in doing that, reclaim my power and figure out where I've been giving away my power.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we can dig into that for a moment too, right? Giving away our power is very, it coincides with self-worth so much.
All of these do, actually.
Huh?
All of these letters.
All of them do, but really the power thing. I really think that it's a direct impact, because when we started talking about, different circumstances, which we really didn't identify at the time as giving away our power, but as we were talking through different scenarios in our lives, there was a common theme that whenever we allowed somebody to have power over us in any way, shape, or form, one, it was always us giving it to them. And two, it was always the situations and circumstances and dynamics that we felt the lowest. So what we've realized is, maybe we're just not that quick, but what we realized through this is that that's where we were really handing our power away and tearing ourselves down, right? And putting ourselves in positions and circumstances and situations that made us uncomfortable and made us outside of our core values and compromise. The other thing that I want to say is about core values. There's so many times that our core values come from being imposed on us.
Mm-hmm.
When we are being raised, as we're growing up, whether it's friends, peer pressure, teachers, education systems, whatever it is, they impose these values on us, and we're led to believe that they are the best way to live, or the way
or they are shown to us as those people, like our parents or people surrounding us, our guardians, and I'm not blaming, I'm just explaining that they're not aligned with their core values. So their definition of integrity is messed up. Their definition of honesty is not, and so it's imposed on you. And you're living your life through someone else's values that may not even be someone that's aligned with their values. So
Right.
Everything is off.
And again, I don't, when it comes to parenting and it comes to how I was raised, I don't blame, right? I don't blame them. They did the best they could with where they were at. And, doesn't mean it's okay with everything that occurred.
Doesn't mean you condone it.
Right. Doesn't mean I condone it. Doesn't mean it's okay with how they did it. But what it means is I'm okay with it. And I've released them of that. And I don't hold it against them. Because they have generational stuff that, 50 years ago wasn't talked about. It was, everything's private, everything's secret, everything's got to be held, everything stays within the house. Nothing gets talked about outside of the house that happens in the house. You want to know why all these things became such an epidemic issue in this country, abuse and, any type of abuse and manipulation and control and all those other different things. It's all because everything was secret. Everything had to be private. Everything had to be held in the house. And we felt less than if we did speak up. Or we felt like we were liars, manipulators, cheats, and abandoning people if we did it, and all those other reasons, because that's what we were led to believe.
I don't feel that the same way as you do about people doing their best. I mean, I used to say that until I dug deeper. And I think certain people in my life just didn't model the way. They didn't look at themselves. They didn't model the way for me. And so I not only had a mental health issue, so I wasn't aligned with my core values. I was being affected by that. But on top of that, I was not led in a way with integrity. These are my core values: integrity, honesty, empathy. Maybe there was empathy, there was some compassion, but there was honesty and integrity were very, very foggy as far as what those meant and those being aligned with who we were as people. So I really grew up not understanding that and not understanding why it was so important and not understanding why it was so important to me.
Yeah.
And so that not understanding the importance to me chipped away at my soul every time I was dishonest, every time I didn't have integrity. It just chipped and chipped and chipped and chipped until eventually I just crashed. I crashed and burned. And
yeah, I get that. And I see that too. Maybe I'm just trying to be nicer.
Well, and I look, I agree with you. Like, I don't sit and blame. I don't play the blame game because there's nothing that's not going to do anything.
No.
And the truth is, like, yeah, to an extent, they did their best, but you know, then in life, you gotta look at yourself too. You have to look at yourself. You have to turn the lens around and look inside and see, take some responsibility. So there's that too.
There is, and again, you're right? Because their version of what they believed was integrity and honesty and everything else was their version, and whether they live in their core values or not is on them.
Right.
But
when you're a kid, you're so impressionable. You're in your developmental time, and it's not your fault. The people that are listening, it's not your fault. Some of it has been passed on to you.
Right.
That doesn't mean to play the blame game. It means to understand and have compassion for yourself, that like you saw and experienced things as a child and it affected the trajectory of your life. And now's the time to look deeper into that and dig and figure out, what are your core values? What is your purpose? What is your mission? Who are you?
Yeah. And that's where self-forgiveness comes in, right? Right. Where we've really got to practice self-compassion and self-forgiveness, because so much of it is outside of our control, is outside of what we were able to control, what we were filtered and what was instilled into us.
Part of that need, I think, for adults, a lot of us, to try to control, which I've yet to meet someone who really doesn't try to control things in their life that they can't control. I mean, everybody has some sort of control issue, some more than others. But a lot of that is because when we were children, we didn't have control over anything. Yeah. So now as adults and young adults and grown-ups, is we try to hold on tighter because we never had that control, and it was really unsettling when we were little. So talking to your inner child and parenting that inner child is such a big part of this too.
And for me, what I've realized is, right, and we've talked about this a few times. I don't know if we've talked about it live or not, but for me,
who knows?
I can't even tell anymore. For me, it was always about controlling the pain, right? It was always self-preservation. So for me, it was, I'm never going to allow myself to hurt this way again. How do I control the circumstances, situations, things around me to ensure that it doesn't happen again? And that's where my controlling ways of really controlling myself primarily, but then it also reflected outwards to controlling outcomes, circumstances, situations, expectations, and just how I presented myself to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's again, as we become more self-aware, we realize these things at such a deeper level. And we really, as we keep looking within, we keep finding the deep core root of some of our flaws, right? That we're embracing and working and building and, allowing to be.
My control issues, like just as an example, was when I wasn't present and I didn't allow at all. I tried to control and put different pieces of my life in different places that I thought they needed to be so I could live a happy life, so I could be fulfilled, so I could be whole. So I thought that if this just goes here and this goes here and this happens and I make this happen, and see all the control I'm trying to put in, and I put these right in the perfect spots, like Tetris.
Yes.
Right? Then I'm good. Then I'm worthy. Then I'm full. Then I'm whole. Right? But that's not how life works. I can't control the pieces. I have to let the chips fall as they may and then deal with it.
Right.
And also dig deep in myself and find out who that self is. Who am I? And that's what I did on this journey.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about like going back years, right? We're talking about, if we look back to October, right? Mm-hmm. We can talk about how that was, we've talked about this many times, how it was so many major life events for you at once, mm-hmm. that it was, I need to put this in place, this in place, this in place, then I can breathe.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, you're breathing right now. Right. And you're like, no. This is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
You know, to breathe.
Because, yeah. And it truly comes down to, I wasn't stopping and being present. I just felt that need to have everything in place. And then I could take a breath. But if I just took a breath, it would have fallen into place anyway.
Yes.
And like, to relinquish that control would have caused me, I probably would have gotten to this fulfillment a little sooner, but it needed to happen the way it did. And I, as we know, do everything on my own time. So
yes. And you know what? It might have happened sooner, but it might never have happened the way it was supposed to, right? So you went through all this for a reason. We've both gone through everything we've gone through to get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, it doesn't matter why it took getting to this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's those experiences that now make us relatable to others to be able to reach them in ways that most can't.
That's the point.
And that's the,
That's what we're
that's the
doing.
reason that we share so much. And that's the reason that we have no problem talking about our escapisms and really being vulnerable and open about it and transparent about it so that others can relate to us and feel comfortable to work with us to help them get through theirs, right? And you always want to work with somebody who's gone through what you've gone through to the best of their ability. Because again, like we talked about last night with Jairus, everybody's trauma is different, right? Like it could be more extreme or less extreme from your perspective than what you've gone through, but it might have the same impact on them as what you went through.
Yeah. I mean, and he said, he's a great example. He said last night, my childhood was great. I took care of my brothers and sisters. I was the one, I took care of everybody. I was always made sure everybody was happy and taken care of. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. He's like, nothing was really wrong. He's like, I was loved. And I was like, where was your childhood?
Right.
Where was your being a child? And so oftentimes when you're in that situation, you go back to, it wasn't my parents' fault. Like, and you're trying to pick up for everybody. It's not that we're trying to place blame. It's that we're trying to understand where you were and how you've become who you've become and now who you are now.
It's all just about owning you, right? I mean, at the end of the day, even placing blame doesn't fix you.
No. Honestly, it doesn't make you feel better either.
No.
I think it does, but it doesn't.
No, not at all. It makes everything so much worse in ways.
Well, my favorite quote ever is harbor your resentments. If you want to be a slave, harbor your resentments.
Yes.
And that is like because it's the truest quote I've ever heard. Because it's so true. I mean, to hold them in and to be angry, and so many people have resentments they don't know about that they do know about, and they hold on to them. And I have a right to be angry. And it's nothing about having a right. It's that holding on to that is bringing you down. It's making you not whole. It's making your soul be chipped away, not anybody else's.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's tedious and painful, right? And again, it tortures us from the inside out. Like, we are the first to admit that we tormented ourselves, right? And we really.
I'm big into that. I was big into that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because we felt like we deserved it in some way.
Well, that's self-worth, right? So when you don't ever in your life fully examine your worth and understand why there is little to none, and fully get your head wrapped around why you have such little self-worth. Am I boring you?
No. I need coffee.
Go get coffee. I'll talk.
You
want me to dance while you're gone?
I'm trying to drink coffee. It's just not working.
I know. It's like broken.
I might have to drink more nitro on top of this.
I always say the coffee's broken if I'm still tired.
Coffee's broken.
Coffee's broken. Yeah. I know I'm a lot of things, Mike, but I don't think boring is.
You're not boring. You are nowhere near boring. Nowhere near.
So I think it all comes back to self-worth. And like, I think so many of us have just been beaten down and battered, even in lives that have been great. Yeah. There have still been ways where you've been beaten down. And it's like, sometimes people don't even want to recognize that. I have a client right now that it took, a couple weeks before she even settled into asking for support and help. And we were working together and she was like telling me she was fine. Like, I'm just fine. I don't really need this help. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you here? And when we got through the wall that was up, then she could say to me, yeah. And I mean, we shedding tears and talking about what was going on and getting to the root of the self-worth issue. But at first it's like, we all put on that armor, that suit that we walk around in. And the way we present to the world is so different than who we really are. And it's really amazing when you can step back and really just be you, like truly be you, not sort of you, not a little bit you, but like really embrace you for all of your beauty and all of your flaws, right? Mike and I talk about that all the time. Like, I have certain things about me that, I'm working on, but it's just like, I have anxiety. It just creeps up on me sometimes out of nowhere, triggered by something, and I'm being strangled. But like, I have to work through the steps and get through it before I can get through that anxiety. Like, it's not simple. It's work.
Wait, you have anxiety?
I don't think that's funny.
No.
I don't think it's funny. Yes, I have a little bit of anxiety. And most of all, it's totally, for the most part, completely self-induced. Completely self-induced. Like I impose so many restrictions. You think I don't know? I'm a smart cookie. I self-impose a lot of this stuff and I make myself crazy a little bit. And so I have to constantly go through the breath framework to get to the place of healing where I can take a step back and relax. And you'll watch it right before your eyes. Like you're like, okay, she's allowing now finally. Okay, she gets it. And and then it lifts. But you have to do these steps in order for it to lift. Otherwise, it just suffocates you.
Well, T is usually when you say, okay, I've got to let you go because I need to go breathe. And then the minute that you get through that, you call me back and you're like, I feel better. Like, okay, we got through.
I mean, look, and the truth of the matter is, like, I don't think my anxiety is just going to poof, go away. No. So I have to learn how to cope with that. I have to learn to embrace that about me. And that's what we talk about, like embracing the fact that like sometimes that's what happens and it's okay. Having compassion around that. Giving the little girl inside me that's freaked out and anxious and scared, because I have a time management issue and I get freaked out about time. What did you call it the other day? I have a time.
I don't know.
I have a time something. I have something with time that I get really freaked out about. Being on time, getting somewhere on time. Smart cookies rock.
Thank you, see so
like he thinks I don't know. He's always like, "Oh, really?" Like he thinks I don't know about myself. Like one thing I am is I know what I'm going through. I know what I'm like. I know what I'm dealing with, but I don't want to feel shame about it. Like I don't want to be ashamed of how I am sometimes. Like, and not that you ever shame me, but like I shame myself. Like I'm like, I can't believe you act like that. I can't believe you get like that. Why do you get like that? What's wrong with you? And it's like, I have to just have some acceptance and allowance of me.
And it's not that easy, right? Because we're 41 years of living a certain way. It doesn't disappear in 16 months. So, and it's we're still evolving through this process and growing through this process and accepting ourselves, right? Just because we're self-aware doesn't make it easier to exist within certain things about ourselves. What it does is it allows us to have freedom of choice, right? Mm-hmm. Once we're able to step back from the scenario and the position in the situation, because sometimes when we're in it, we can't do it. We just can't. You have your anxiety. I have my moments of being overly emotional, right? Like I just can't get control over it because I'm still trying to figure out what all my emotions are. Like, I just never understood them. It was either depressed or anger, and those were the only two, or numb. That's technically my favorite emotion, or was my go-to, I should say.
I was just going to say,
was my go-to. So
see, even your languaging there that you caught yourself, and your languaging is so important, because to say what you were just going to say, and then it's dismissing the work you've done.
Right.
To say my go-to is numb.
And it's the little things, though. It's picking up on those things, right? Like, in the past, I wouldn't have picked up on it. In the past, I wouldn't have noticed it. In the past, I would have just allowed it to be. And it's like you said this morning during Clubhouse, those are the things that chip away at us. And they really chip away at us. They slowly chip away at our worth. And I did that. I used to do that all the time. That was my go-to. My go-to humor was burning myself into the ground.
Self-deprecating. And you'll have flashes of it now, but it is nowhere near what it was. Not even close. It's like 1%.
If you could find the videos on Gabe channel, feel free to go find them. You'll see them all over the place.
Yeah, I can't find any videos.
If you can find them. If you can find them. No, I know.
I don't know where they are.
They're gone. Who knows?
Oh,
yeah. Who knows? But they fell off the face of the earth. It's but like if it's amazing the difference, right? In that time period, it is so amazing the difference of how much we have both changed.
Well, that's the thing, and that's why journaling is so important, and keeping track of where you are, because we luckily have chronicled our journey pretty much on LinkedIn.
Right. Yes.
Like if you go back and look at our videos on YouTube or our shows that we did together, there have been drastic changes in 16 months.
Yeah.
Drastic. In two people that have just evolved so completely to fullness. And now we're on this tour, and it's like, this is like this whole other world than where I started. So broken. So broken.
It is. And we both were. We were both just in complete, drastically different places. And I really think the biggest thing that we've done over this last year, and there's many things we've done, but I think the biggest thing is reclaiming our power.
I know that's your favorite. That's your favorite.
But because we could do all the other work, but if we don't reclaim our power, then it's pointless because we have no worth, right? So by removing ourselves from toxic situations, by taking a step back from people that brought that into our lives, by, really separating ourselves from old habits and patterns, this has really created our self-worth, created our personal value.
Finding who you are.
Right. And it's allowed us to really live into it. Because I think without finding and taking back our power, we would have never been able to live into the core values like we do.
And stopping giving away your power.
Yes.
That's major too. Getting involved with what you're currently doing in the present and stop giving it away is so key.
It is.
And it really is part and parcel of the rest of this. Like such a big, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't go, you might allow in certain ways in your life, but until that power piece is, that power barometer, I call it, is, and your worth barometer is in place, the other steps aren't going to be as impactful.
Right. And again, it's not about having power over anyone else but ourselves.
No.
It's our personal power, standing into it and just not giving it away anymore.
Well, some people think that control is power. So that's an interesting discussion to have, the difference between controlling something and being, trying to put those pieces like the Tetris board, like I was saying, trying to put those pieces everywhere I needed them to be so I could be powerful, so I could be worthy.
Oh, like when I used to describe how I live life playing 3D chess and having the pieces everywhere on the board? You mean like that? Yes. I know nothing about what you're talking about, so we're good.
So, trying to control actually gives your power away too. You just give it away. You just keep giving it away. You're chipping away at your own soul.
Yeah, it is. But you're also taking away the upside, which is miserable, a miserable existence also, right? Like I was very content being miserable and very content being comfortable.
Well, we always say you were comfortable in discomfort.
Yeah, I mean, just horribly. I mean, I didn't know how to live any other way. It's almost like, this new way of living, I'm still trying to figure out how to live in it because it's so peaceful that now it's almost like the minute I smell chaos, I just back off.
Well, here's the key. One of the things that we both realized about our journeys is that we both knew so much chaos as children that chaos was normal to us. Chaos felt good almost. It felt normal. It felt comfortable to be in chaos. So when there was no chaos, we created it.
Yeah.
That's what we did as adults and young adults. And I guess sometimes kids, but really adults.
I mean, to be fair, as a child, I did too. Well, I mean, yeah, I did. I mean, I went to negative.
You didn't know any other way.
Yeah, I mean, I went to negative attention all the time. I did. It was my default. And I was a perennial underachiever, and I set the bar low. I just wanted to set it so low that I could never disappoint, right? And I just settled for being an underachiever and just always.
I think you got attention out of that. And no, attention is attention, negative or positive, right? So you gained attention out of that, and you thought that was the attention that you deserve, that negativity, right?
Yes. Hey, Carl. He's so
Carl
funny.
Sean.
Yeah, he's funny.
What's up? So meeting that chaos was
negative attention was great until girls stopped liking the bad boy. So, it just got boring after that. But yeah, I mean, I really defaulted to negative attention for a very long time. And then when I started making good money, it was, I'm going to buy attention. Right. Mm-hmm. And it didn't matter how. And then after I went from that, it was, I was just going to drink myself or be in a drug induced coma. Thanks, Carl. I appreciate you, bud.
And God forbid you.
I guess I should thank Annie for officially announcing it to the world, right? Like,
I mean, I wasn't going to let it go. I can't believe you didn't know I was going to post like that. My kids were sleeping. I was whispering. So, I went the other way with negative attention. I mean, I did with attention. I was the people pleasing, approval seeking, keep everything nice and harmonious, do everything everybody wanted, always be that perfect, which kind of is pretty anti who I am, because who I am is pretty much, this is me and I'm going to be this way. But I stuffed myself into this box. And that's why I was so friggin' uncomfortable in there, because I don't fit in the box. So, that's the way that I thought I was worthy. I thought I was worthy if I did the best, if everybody was happy, which, as you know, making other people happy is impossible.
Yeah.
They have to make themselves happy. So that was setting myself up for such failure and for negative feedback. And so that's how I got attention.
Yeah. I mean, it was, it was always putting myself in relationships where I wanted to save somebody or I wanted to be their hero.
Then you felt worthy.
Right. And then I also didn't have to work on myself. I mean, that was the other part, right? Like there was a double part here. Like I didn't want to work on myself because that's work. But
did you even know that you could? Did you even know that you could work on yourself?
I mean, I'm sure I did deep down. Like I'm sure I did.
Care to think about it.
I just didn't want to. Yeah. Why?
Too hard.
It wasn't. No. It wasn't about too hard. It was. I didn't think I was worth it. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was worth it.
Like, what's the point?
And until some crazy blonde out of Philadelphia found me, I mean, I saw no reason to. So
I mean, I saw your video and I was like, I gotta like say something.
Eventually. So 2 days later.
Yeah. Eventually, I got around to it.
Yeah.
I was a little busy.
It's okay.
Dealing with my own crises that I had created in my life.
Yeah.
Well, chaos.
We all do that, right? And that's the thing. Like, and then it was also, this transition was also like falling back into creating chaos at moments and running and hiding and pushing away. And like, it became this enormous, just because we were working on ourselves and just because I was working on myself didn't mean that the habits and patterns stopped until I became self-aware of them and I stopped them. Right. And, it's great to, talk about all the things that I was at one point, but some of them aren't very far off.
No, I mean, and that's about evolving, we're
right.
always evolving. So that's why this framework that we've created allows people to keep using it and applying it to their life. Because this is not a, 5-week mastermind program where you go and you take the info and that's it. Like, this is not like that. This is a framework for living a fulfilled life. That's the key. You want to live a fulfilled life? We can show you how we are.
So give the explanation that you gave yesterday, because that was a good one.
Which one?
I don't know. Where was that yesterday? That was your channel. That was your show. And then I'm with Jairus too.
Explanations I've given regarding what? Like, which, just give me one word.
Yesterday, overwhelming situation where you got anxiety.
Okay. Why don't you tell the story? Go ahead. And I'll jump in.
Okay.
You're so good at saying where I have anxiety. So go ahead.
So me and Annie were talking yesterday morning, as shocking as that may be to some people. And she started getting anxious. And it wasn't even like big things. It was just like, it was like,
this is like really calling me out. Go ahead.
No, but you like got overwhelmed with it. And then once you got overwhelmed, then it was everything that just,
I was set off. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was everything on top of you, right? So it was like everything you're going through, all big underlying things, everything just came to a head. But it was the one thing that triggered it. And then it was just everything. And you were in this place and we were talking, trying to talk through it. And then you would go, be busy, come back. You were almost back in the anxiety moment again. Talk through it.
Because I wasn't allowing it all.
Right.
I wasn't allowing.
And then it was walk Randall. So that was obviously a test of everything about you.
He's a little stubborn.
Because Randall just is a test in life. He's a life test. Yeah. And then it was like, from that point, you hit a point. I'm trying to remember what time of the day it was, but you got so overwhelmed that you're like, I have to go. I need to go breathe. Oh, it was later in the day, a little bit later in the day. And that's when I'm like, okay, she's really stuck on through. Like, she's got to push through this one. Like,
yeah, she's stuck on that ladder.
And then it was like, she comes back an hour later and she's like, I'm good. But like, it's the rapid transition. See, like when you go through and that's all I wanted to illustrate. And when you go through these steps and you start living in these every day, yes, these circumstances still come up. They don't go away. But what we do is we have the tools to rapidly go through these steps and work through them. And
to take yourself through,
right,
which is key.
right. And we're fortunate that we have each other as accountability partners, and we hold each other accountable and everything and all that stuff. And we're just very lucky that we're on this journey, parallel but separate, but together, whatever you want to call this. And we're just very fortunate that that we have that, because having that reflective mirror at times is so helpful. Having it at times sucks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's you can't often see yourself. It's
Right.
really hard to see yourself sometimes. So having, somebody or more than one person or whomever in your life that you feel can call you out, which is really what it's about, calling you out.
Yeah.
I think that's super, super important. And this journey, as you can hear, I mean, Mike just told you a story about me yesterday. And then going through this process, which I did more rapidly, today I feel I'm like so much lighter.
Yes.
So much later. And nothing has changed in my circumstances.
Well, you took the attention off you and put it on me, right? That's what you did.
I did. I posted about your birthday and I was like, I got to do this surprise post and it's not about me anymore. I put it on you. No, but for real, like I went through these steps and I just went through and I got to a place of allowing. Okay.
So
this is what's going to be.
Let's talk about another level of this that we haven't really gone into in great length, but how this has impacted our children in the last 6 months. Because this is really important too, because there's so many parents out there that are so scared to make the same mistakes that were made to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't realize that trying to control that narrative is creating either an opposite extreme or even more of a micromanaged extreme.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I was one of those parents too. Right?
So tell me about that.
Tell you about what?
About that, like how your kids have changed and how this has changed how you interact with them.
I mean, when I first got them, I was so, after I came out of the depressed time, right? That 2 months, whatever it was. So let's say like from May, June, middle of May on, I was still the other extreme of extremely soft. I didn't want them to, I didn't want to have rules. I didn't want to.
Well, they were abused.
Right.
You were scared and you were alone. And,
but what I did was I put it to the other extreme, which was creating entitlement, and they believed they deserved to be treated. You know what I'm saying? Like everything was
kids really need rules and
right.
And
so
schedules and rigid.
But what's happened as I've gone through this healing journey is every step of the way that I make a step forward, they're picking up on it and they're making steps forward. For my son to not go to therapy for 2 months because we were switching therapists and school districts and everything else. And then, one day he looked at me and said, Dad, I'm not going to manipulate my new therapist. When can we get started? For him to say that.
He was 8 when he said that.
Yes. Like, I mean, for him.
What 8-year-old says that?
Well, I mean, he's a pretty brilliant 8-year-old. I mean, he's pretty much my little clone mind-wise.
Did you just call yourself brilliant?
I think I did.
Wow.
Well, it might have been by mistake. But I'm not going to take it back because
it's okay. You don't have to.
But
I agree.
But to see him say that for everything he's been through,
yeah,
and the way that he whipsawed and manipulated that first therapist, to the point that the therapist was blaming me for everything that happened, because he got in such her head and manipulating her. It was great. That I was now the enemy. And then the therapist said that I obviously don't discipline him enough, which, I'm in the South, so their version of discipline is,
Yeah, but other people telling you how to parent wasn't going to help. You had to go through this healing and figure it out.
So, but watching their evolution as I've gone through this, you're talking about kids that never smiled, never were happy, never had moments of happiness, never were content, never felt safe.
Didn't laugh.
They didn't laugh. They didn't want to dance with strangers. Like, I mean, all these things, right? Like, you're talking about kids that just wanted attention no matter how they can get it, to now they want loving, nurturing people in their lives. And when they see them, they miss them and want to cherish it. And it's amazing to watch how it's shifted. And their evolution is how they handle themselves. My son doesn't get angry and throw stuff anymore. He gets angry, he goes in the room, he sits down and sits with it. Sometimes he breathes through it. Sometimes he meditates. Sometimes, he just sits there and yells in his room. And I'm okay with that.
I do the same thing, and I'm not 8.
Right.
I slam things.
Yeah.
Very, very helpful. Slamming doors is like such
very
a
cathartic. Very cathartic. As long as there's no pictures.
I'm a door slammer. What can I say? I own it. I own it.
But yeah, and even Sid, right? I mean, look at Sid. When I first got her, she didn't speak. She still was wearing diapers. She had a diaper rash from head to toe. She was so neglected. This kid stands up for herself. She says what she wants when she wants.
Yes.
She doesn't take no for an answer. She truly is so comfortable with her own skin and so comfortable and feels so loved that she's willing to act out.
Dorothy said slamming doors. Isn't it? Can we stop for a second and talk about that for just 1 minute? And I want to talk about Sid. I love her. But when you are angry and you have done this work, but you still have an anger switch. What?
I just love how you do the precursors. When you've done the work, but I still have
an anger switch that's a little bit of a short fuse. I have a little bit of a patience problem. So when I'm really pissed off, slamming a door is the most satisfying thing. And if something falls off the wall and breaks, even better. Even better. Just slam this door and it's going to hurt the person that I just got mad at or myself or whatever. Oh, veins coming out of my neck. And I feel better after that. I do. And then I feel stupid because I just acted like having a tantrum, a 3-year-old. But it is very satisfying at first.
I'm so glad I didn't say that.
I said it.
What was it, 2.5 weeks ago that you threw something from your computer desk and it hit the wall and did something? It was
no, that was so long ago.
I have no perception of time, but it wasn't that long ago.
What was that long ago?
It wasn't that long ago.
I got really angry about something tech-wise. That tech gets me.
It was something that just
tech gets me anxiety-wise. I got really, really angry and I just went.
Oh, that might have been the iPad day. That might have been the iPad day.
Oh, anyway. So please don't tell the iPad story.
No, I'm not going
to. I had a little iPad incident where my daughter disabled the iPad and
it's
I don't know if anyone's ever disabled an iPad, but of a 9-year-old, but it was as if the world was actually ending.
Yes.
And then we saw how upset she was and I tried to call support. I went to Apple and it was a big mess. And
well, they don't give you there's no time for an appointment if you go to the Apple store.
No.
And then if you call to set an appointment, there's 2 weeks out.
It was such a nightmare. I can't even begin to explain it. So Annie being Annie, right? What did I do? I said, fuck it. And I just bought a new one. I know. Wait. This is the disabled iPad that I still have to get enabled.
That we still have.
There's no getting into it. It's a total wreck and a mess. And I'm down $350. But you know what? That night, I was Superwoman.
Yes, you were. You were Supermom.
So here's the answer. When all else fails, just throw money at it.
Yes.
Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not the answer.
No, I mean, we're technically still going to try and fix it at some point when we have time.
Yeah.
Unless somebody's watching and works for Apple and can, walk us through it instead, because nobody wants.
I don't have a minute of the day. It's so packed with this whole tour and seeing clients that this iPad's going to sit here forever. But anyway, the point is, yes, Dorothy, slamming doors.
At least until August.
As loud as possible is my go-to. It really is. So
Sid does that too.
She's a door slammer?
Yeah.
Well, she's almost 4. She's 3. I see what you're saying. I see what you're doing.
I'm just making a statement.
I know how immature I can be when I have a tantrum, but I have gotten a lot better. I've really done a lot of work on this. I'm so calm.
I'm so calm.
I'm really zen, a lot of the time. I am. So anyway, that's really where we are with things. So really quick, so we have 10 minutes, right? So let's talk about the groups. So as Mike and I were going through the breath framework and working with our clients one-to-one with this and seeing a lot of amazing results and the impact of it in both ourselves and our clients, we decided that we wanted to share to a community. So we are handpicking and inviting people privately to an exclusive private content, exclusive content invite only group for both men and women, 2 separate groups that will be facilitating a Zoom session in June. And they will be able to engage with one another in our community and not be exposed to like the public. And we're going to go through some of these what we've done in our process, in our journey, and talk like we are now, but a little bit more in an intimate setting, but together in a group.
Yeah, in a more, not everybody's as vulnerable as us and willing to, put it out there. So, we're creating these safe space groups so that people feel comfortable to be vulnerable. And we're really going to slow pace it through the group setting because it's not one-on-one coaching. It's not, we're not going to have time to spend and dedicate to each person in the group, but we want to be able to give them the basic foundations to help them be able to slow walk themselves through it if they're willing.
Yeah.
And we're handpicking selected invites. This is
I didn't want to do, we decided like we're not email blasting and it's for a free for all. Like this is a very specific type of person that is ready and open and willing to get involved with this and go on this journey to walk into your soul center and have this experience.
Yeah, and it's gonna be people that want it. I mean, this isn't just we want to take money and just leave you there. You've got to want this. Because this journey's not easy. We can laugh about things that we do now. We can make fun of ourselves a little bit in little ways. And I get angry and, I don't throw things, I yell. I yell once and then it's over. Like I just let it out. I just scream at the top of my lungs, the walls rattle, and then I'm done. And then everybody's just kind of looking.
I don't think that's what you do. I think you withdraw when you get angry and upset. When you get upset, you withdraw.
That's after I scream.
Right. Well,
I scream for it.
Okay. Either way, just so you know, you completely withdraw when you're in a thing.
But that's after I scream.
Right. I got you.
Scream.
I got you.
Scream. Like I see red, my head shaking. Like I'm like a cartoon character. That head just opens up and this mega scream comes out. And it's just.
And then it's done.
And then everybody's looking around like the little kids crying with tears rolling down.
I can get on board with that. I understand a scream. It's like a door slam. You got it?
Yeah, it is. It is, except it's just a scream because I think I've broken too much slamming doors. So maybe that's why I don't do it. Mm-hmm. And as a kid, when I used to slam the door, my mother would run through it. So literally full bore.
Well, that's what Dorothy just said. She used to get shit for doing it as a kid. My mom would say, slam it a little harder. So I did.
No, she would run through it like a linebacker. Literally like put her shoulder down and just go straight through the fucking door. Off the hinges, everything.
Wow.
A little bit of an anger issue. But it was, we all have our shit, right? Like we all have our things and we're never going to take away from who we are as people, but we live in our soul-centered self. And when I do that, I own it. I go to my kids and I apologize. I hold them, I hug them, I explain to them, why I was angry. And I say, it wasn't right what I did in return, but it's my way of letting it out without anybody getting hurt. Mm-hmm. And it's just what happens. And that's my out. That's my go-to.
But this has been like a really incredible experience to share our journeys with the world, really, and launch this amazing Soul Center and Soul Center Experience live show. It's just been really fun.
We haven't even really talked about the live show.
I know. It's okay. The live show has replaced Living with Attitude. Living with Attitude has come to an end, the end of an era, and the Soul Center Experience Live is now the new Where It's At show.
But, the more I look at this transition, right, when we went from mind-centered to heart-centered to soul-centered, Living with Attitude is very heart-centered. It's finding the silver lining. It's being empathic. It's, sharing love and lifting people up. And now it's just deeper. It's let's teach people and show them how we got through and how we made it to the next step and how we've gone farther
and walk together on this journey.
Yeah. I mean,
side by side.
Yeah. I mean, this is a process. This really is a growth experience for whoever wants to be involved. And it's, we are all worth it and we owe it to ourselves to be worth it. And, that's what it comes down to.
I finally figured that out, that I'm worthy of being whole. And that's the most important I think, piece of all of this is that I figured it out. I uncovered that I'm worthy of being whole.
And I did somewhere along the journey too. And
So,
that's not where I was before this.
and
At all.
no,
No.
So, that's where it's at.
Yeah. And it's been a beautiful run on this live tour. Do you hear my kids yelling or not?
Yes.
Okay. Like, I wasn't sure. Like, I mean,
Yes.
their school ended yesterday here, and they don't start camp until Tuesday, which it makes me very sad. Because if they could spend all Memorial Day weekend in camp, I would pay for it. But that's okay. They
Well,
start.
those people that work at the camp want to be on vacation. So
Yeah, well, yeah, I get it. I do kind of. I still think I should work it. I pay double, but yeah, it's been a great journey so far. We have a few days left in it. We have Reggie Waterman later today. And then we have DJ tomorrow.
Mhm.
Emily Harmon on Friday, and then Joan Kling on
Sunday.
Joanne Kling, Joan. I'm bad with names.
And then Tuesday night, it's
And
the
then-
first Real Soul Center Experience live show at 7:30 Eastern.
and the group's officially open, and yeah,
It's all happening, people. It's all happening.
it's been a lot of build up these last few weeks. I'll tell you,
Yes,
It's been-
insane amounts of buildup.
it's
All right. Well,
It's
I
all
think
about-
that's
it's always about the build up.
it is.
It
I think
is.
that's what we came to say. So
Well, thank you so much, everybody,
Thanks for being
and whoever watches it later, we appreciate you. And if you ever need anything, please reach out, and we'll be here.
peace.
And ignore my kids in the background as they're playing whatever game they are. Who knows?